Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. It's going to be a very interesting one. And that is, Swamiji's commentary is so important on this one because people misunderstand this verse so much. So I'm glad we'll be doing it with Tejo Mayananji and Enchin Mayananji's commentary. They'll keep us on the right track. Okay. So in Kathoupanishad, we finished verse 11 of Valli 4, where that was also very interesting one, which saying mind alone we can realize that Brahman, and there's a whole contradiction we talked about. That first it says that hey, mind cannot take you, then it says mind can, and in what context they are talking about. That context was we have to purify our mind. That was the main thing in the last one. And then it also said that and there is no difference here and there. And one who sees the difference, that's the person who goes from death to death. Or either you can say that, janam maran ka chakkar chalu rehta hai, and the other meaning of going death to death is always miserable. The person is always miserable. So keeping that in mind, now the question is, how do I move forward? So amazingly enough, it's just like in Bhagavad Gita, we always talk about such a complimentary over here. Complimentary verse about meditation. So it's giving you a tip. So usko dhyan mein rakhte hue, here is the verse. Verse 12 of Kathoupanishad. Angushta matra purushaha madhya atmani tishtati ishano bhuta bhavyasya natato vijugupsate aitad vaitad. Angushta matra, size of a thumb. Angusht is angutha, size of a thumb. Purushaha, the person. Yahan par person, don't think of it person as a man. They're talking about Brahman. Because in Bhagavad Gita also Purush and Prakriti. Brahman, spirit and matter. That's how the English translation. That Purusha is talking about over here. Madhya, everybody know, Madhya means in the middle. Atmani, Atma is the word for soul, but here Atmani means in the body. Tishtati, resides. Ishan is the Lord. Bhuta bhavyasya, of the past and future. So when they talk about past and future, present is also included in. That means Lord of 3 periods of time. Past, present and future. Or Hindi mein, Sanskrit mein bahut acha word hai. Mahakal, means he's a boss of the time. Jisse time utpanna hua hai, kind of. Na tataha, hence forward or after realizing him. Viju gupsate. This word, this same sentence, same part of the verse has come in verse 5. Ishano bhuta bhavyasa natato vijigupsate. Vijigupsate we have already seen, but maybe we forgot. It means that person does not fear anything. Become fearless. Etat, this is, wait, verily, tat is that. So that's what, let's see. This is kind of a very interesting verse which said that, so in the last verse, what it was, that with purified mind, with the help of, how do you purify your mind? With the help of Shastras and your teacher and your guru, acharya, or whatever you want to call, all the swamis that we read commentary, we purify our mind, we understand what Bhagwan is, and that's how we move forward. With that kind of purified mind, you can realize the self. So the same theme is now continuing in this mantra, but what are they saying? That how to turn your attention to the self. Because I think that today, Anilji is not here. He had asked that question, no? Hey, how do you think about the self? So here is another tip, what he's telling you what to do. So he's saying, Angushta matra means size of the thumb, the Purushaha. Purusha means that Brahman that resides in your body. Body में क्या है? हृदय आकाश बोला है. That's how Tejomay Anandji explained. In our body there is mind and hriday means, when we talk about the spiritual mind, or hriday means spiritual heart, not even mind. What is a spiritual heart? Spiritual heart, according to our Swamiji, is that all the good feelings that bubble in our heart, that is a spiritual heart. जहाँ पर mind and body दोनों merge होते हैं. That's how he explains it. And as we do the Bhagavad Gita and we read Swamiji's commentary, you will understand what he's trying to say. Because if the mind and heart means the feelings and the intellect, they don't merge together, you cannot have a spiritual heart. Because there will be a split personality. Mind wants to do something, your heart is telling no. Your feelings are saying no. So firstly it has to merge. And then all the good things, thought of love and kindness and all that, when they bubble up, that's the spiritual heart. So you can say that the Atma resides over there. And why did they? So here Tejomay Anandji said, how can you say that the whole Atma is only size of a thumb? Doesn't make any sense, right? So it's more symbolic. Because हम लोगों ने बार बार देखा ना कि you don't need to run around anywhere to find God. He resides within you only. So how do I connect to him? So the Shastras are saying, hey, a size of a thumb, now don't take like a fixed size. Again, there'll be a problem. बोलेगा कि ओ भगवान तो मेरे अंगूठे के जितने यहाँ पर है, कोई ज्योति है वहाँ पे अंगूठे के जैसे, ऐसा कुछ ज्योति वोति वैसा कुछ नहीं है. It's a symbolic language. All they are saying is that the same Brahman that is everywhere, that also is in your heart, and you can consider him as though it is a size of a thumb and is residing in your heart. And who is that? That is Ishana. He is the Lord. Lord of what? 3 periods of time. Bhuta Bhavyasya. Okay? And then, I already mentioned that this was exactly the same verses in verse 5, the last line. And later on, you can go and read it again. And in that particular one, it just said that, that Jiva he's a madhu eater, meaning he enjoyer of honey, means all the good karmas that we do and we get the result, we enjoy that. That was a verse. And then there also, when we were discussing this verse, we discussed that the same Paramatma, when it is conditioned by the upadhis means I have a mind, body, intellect, and I start identifying with it, then it's called a jiva. But when I come to know my essential nature, that these are just my equipments, I am not that, I am that Brahman, then that Brahman is the 3 periods of time. Lord of 3 periods of time, that Ishan. Okay? And then, so the main thing over here is that don't start thinking that Bhagwan is just like अंगूठे की तरह में के साइज का मेरे अंदर रिसाइड करते हैं, बिकॉज ये पूरा एक सटल लैंग्वेज में तुमको बताया गया है. And why did they say that? So that we withdraw our attention from the world of objects and turn it within our heart. So it's giving you a symbol. And Swamiji's commentary is going to explain to us that when somebody does bhakti, they भक्ति में क्या होता है कि सब कुछ भगवान को अर्पण कर देते हैं. So they have as though a means to do their bhakti, right? He's saying जो लोग ये योग क्या बोलते हैं, योग आसन वगैरह करते हैं पतंजलि स्टाइल का, यम नियम प्राणायाम योग आसन, उस लाइन में जाते हैं तो वो कुंडलिनी शक्ति के ऊपर they will start, chakras के ऊपर. Kamala ji is not here. She always talks about, right? They focus on different chakras and also they have something to focus on. So he's saying ये जो लोग सीधा नॉलेज के रास्ते में जाते हैं उन बेचारों के पास कुछ भी नहीं है फोकस करने के लिए. तो भगवान तो यहाँ पर ना शास्त्रों ने हमको एक सिंबल दिया है कि ओके दैट पर्टिकुलर आत्मा इज विद इन यू एंड यू कैन if you want to imagine it that way, it's okay just for symbol purposes. But actually, it is not like that. Okay. And the word Purusha is all pervading. That's what it is, actual one of the Sanskrit meaning and all is. So we have to remember that too. And then he gave the most beautiful example that, hey, why did the Shruti say like that? Angushta matra. So he's saying, okay, take a needle, and look at the eye of the needle. Kitni choti hoti hai, right? And I can bet you all of us in this group, we cannot put now the thread in there. We need our glasses. Usse mere to glasses se bhi nahi hota hai. So I have to just fluke, kabhi chala jata hai aur itna time lagta hai. How small that is, right? The eye of the needle. उसमें क्या है उस eye of the needle में? Space है कि नहीं? और वो same space is the space जिसमें पूरा ब्रह्मांड है और पूरा cosmos है. All the what you call solar system तो कोई बहुत छोटी सी चीज है. Galaxies are there, billions of galaxies in the same space. It can be that small in the eye of the needle, and the same space is whole Brahman. That's what he's talking about. That Angushta Matra, see it from that perspective. So there is one word called Pariman in Sanskrit. Just one proportion of it is kind of there. It's not like it's cut and there, just like a space. It's not cut, but that proportion is there within you also. Just think of it that way. Okay? So, he's saying that Atmani Tishtati, that is always there. It's not like kabhi hai, kabhi nahi. This thing is always there. And that's why any kind of meditation you want to do, you can connect to that. And it is untouched by time. That's another way you can look at it. That's why it's always there, 3 periods of time. And he's saying, जो इसको समझ जाता है ना, वो fearless हो जाता है. उसको किसी चीज का डर नहीं लगता. तो Tejomayanand ji kind of explain in few more words that he doesn't need to run away from anything then. हमको fear लगता है ना कि I don't want this, ये नहीं चाहिए, वो चाहिए, something like that, or hide from something. अगर पूरा ब्रह्मांड ही मैं हूं तो what do I need to hide from? Right? So, or protect from what? He's talking from the highest perspective. So we should not take it in a wrong way that I should not put some lock on my door because I don't know. That's not what they're saying. But the unnecessary fears that we have, kya hoga, ye hoga, wo hoga, those kind of fears that he's talking about, that you're going to not be fearful about anything. And so basically what is the conclusion? As long as we think we are limited, we'll always be afraid. So if you want to become fearless, then we got to think big. Because Tejomayanand ji was saying that जितना हम अपने आप को छोटा महसूस करते हैं ना, उतना fear ज़्यादा होता है. जितना we expand ourselves, the fear keeps becoming less and less. And then when I become Brahma Swarup completely, then absolutely no fear. So that is the highest state. And he's saying, Aitad Vetad, this indeed is that, because the topic is that, Brahman. So, this, whatever they're talking about over here, which is, you can look at it as an Angushta Matra in your, own body, that's what they're talking about is Brahman. And the next mantra is a similar thing, is going to tell you more stuff. Any question or comment on this?
Just one thing, and when you said if you see yourself as that one, just like the space in the needle, that you become fearless. You become fearless because there is none other. Right. There's only you.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Yes. Unless there is some other, there is fear. Mm-hmm. And if it's only you, there's oneness, there is fear from whom?
Correct.
Or fear of what?
Yeah.
And that came to my mind.
That's a psychological fact that, whenever we feel oneness, we don't feel the fear. Whenever we feel separation, we feel fear. That's why अपने घर वालों से अपने को fear नहीं है. कोई अजीब सा दिखने वाला आदमी, oh my God, so different,
Yeah.
So that's what. But the people, and I don't know, I've shared this story from Houston. one time there was somebody came to rob in one of the Indian home, and the grandma was there alone. And she thought कि कोई ऐसे मिलने के लिए आया. She started offering them cookie and milk. And those people didn't even rob her. They just got so, later on they found out that there were some robbers in the thing. But imagine, because her heart was so pure, she didn't see him as a robber, तो उन्होंने चोरी भी नहीं की. You know, I love this story because it actually happened. It came in the newspaper, the whole thing. She was so innocent. So people who don't see, differences, even the universe helps them. And that's why you see these saints and
That's right.
sages that उनके पास वो हिंसक पशु भी आके बैठ जाएंगे, and they don't do anything, and snakes don't bite them and all that. We may think, how this possible? No, it's possible. Because they have some kind of subtle language that they speak with each other, and they don't have fear from each other, in other words. That phenomena is definitely there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comment? We can go for reading.
Yeah.
Okay, Meena ji, you can read then.
Okay. The person, Purusha, of the size of a thumb, resides in the middle of the body as the Lord of the past and the future, and henceforth, after knowing him, fears no more. That is indeed that.
Oh, this is indeed that.
Oh, this is, sorry, I'm sorry, yeah, everything is, this is indeed that.
Okay.
The whole thing is messed up.
That's okay.
The Shruti declares that a human life fully flowers itself into an adorable success only when the individual comes to rediscover himself to be the all. And this achievement can be effected only through a controlled and perfect sublimation of the mind. Mind has an existence only when it entertains its natural tossings, doubts, and emotions. If thoughts do not arise in the mental plane, that itself is the state of no mind. In order to reach this state of mindlessness, the yogi is advised not only to practice a life of self-restraint and self-control, study and retirement, but also to bring the newly released energy of his mind to a single pointed application at a given point for purposes of developing its powers of concentration.
This is what, Sheila ji, here is your answer over here. When they're talking about Maun, it is actually silencing the mind. And when they talk about no mind, that's what means. No mind means koi thoughts nahi ho, sansar ka tumhare mein, and then all the yuktis are given. In order to reach the state of mindlessness, which I will call it Maun, yogis advise to practice a life of self-restraint, too much indulgence in anything, so moderation, self-control, study and retirement, but also to bring the newly released energy of the mind to a single pointed application for the purpose of developing concentration of power. And this is what Mukesh ji over here was saying, that mind needs some occupation to do. So you occupy. That's why I think that in Bhagavad Gita, they have given the best yukti, put your mind on the self. Because sometimes, to completely empty the mind, we don't know what to do. Lot of time they will say, no, meditation mein, like, I'm not criticizing anybody or anything, but a certain meditation, they just say, oh, just concentrate on your breath and all fine. Mind became quiet, then what? It will again run. But if you put it on the self, be aware of the self, then it will stay there. And you can start with some mantra or whatever you want to, but here he's just telling you that basically is defining what we learned in earlier verses, that how to make the mind pure, and Maun comes and that only.
It shows you how the energy of there is energy that you're wasting by thinking of other
Correct.
things. That energy you can use to point towards the single pointedness of the thought self or the yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That helps.
Right.
Mm-hmm. In the case of those who walk the path of bhakti, devotion, They have the natural prop for meditation and concentration in the name and form of their beloved Lord. In the case of the Hatha Yogin, he has the Kundalini Shakti, the serpent power. For the Karma Yogin, similarly, there is constant remembrance of his all dedication to the Lord of the universe, Sri Narayana. It is only for the rare few who come to tread the rocky uphill path of knowledge that we find it difficult to provide them with an intellectually feasible prop to fix their mental attention and develop their secret powers of high concentration.
So this is what I was saying, that all the other paths have something to depend on, and for the direct path of knowledge there isn't. So the Shruti, I mean the Shastras are giving you one tip that what you can concentrate on.
No doubt the Shruti texts are, in themselves, the ultimate prop for the student of Vedanta in his meditation. But before he can launch himself into this philosophical contemplations upon the nature of the divine spark, the self in himself, he must first of all have a powerful and high degree of concentration to apply himself. This early training for the development of his powers of concentration is achieved by him through the process now discussed by the Shruti in this mantra. Kind Shruti advises the students of Vedanta to meditate upon the Purusha who dwells in the center of the heart and who is of the size of one's own thumb.
So now you know exactly what he's saying. That like if you are having difficulty in meditating or putting your mind on the Brahman, so this is one yukti you can use, that that here you are imagining this in your center of your heart, size of your thumb. It's okay to do that in the beginning, but also know, and he also gave the tip that is Ishana Bhuta Bhavyasya. It is the Lord of 3 periods of time, and it is of Purusha, means all pervading and all that. So just keep all those things in mind together.
To limit the all-pervading truth to the form of the thumb and to locate it within the limitations of a circumscribed space, as the human heart, is indeed blasphemy. But the Shruti permits herself even to stoop down to such crime against herself, only to provide her children with something to lean upon and learn to step out on their first few steps in walking the halls of wisdom.
I think Swamiji explained it as best as he could, that the Shruti is actually coming down to our level. And I was thinking about that like when there is a small baby, or when it stands up and you want to talk to that person, you always get down on your own knees and talk to them. So that's what Shruti is doing. That is the highest truth, but they know that we are not capable right now. So it's coming down and telling you, hey, don't worry, you can do this. So beautifully explained. Nobody can explain better than him. So that's what this mantra is.
It's explaining different ways to Nachiketa. All of these are to explain.
Yeah.
And it's also an answer to one of his questions, what is past and future?
Yes,
so
true.
That is also explained. It is explained in other shlokas also, in other mantras. But this is also because he asked particular is one of his questions.
Yes, and in the next verse, because next verse is also again Angushta Matra and all is there. So when we do the next mantra, then we will discuss next week what you are saying, that was the original question of Nachiketa. Does anything remain?
Yes.
So he's telling you, hey, this is the Lord of the 3 periods of time.
Yes.
And that's what you are. Or all of
that's
us.
That's important, and that's what you are.
Yes.
That's
so it is. I'm so glad you brought that up, because even Kathoupanishad is exactly same thing. We cannot forget what we learned in the earlier verses. So it's once in a while it's good to revise it, because then this will have a better meaning. What we are doing. True. Yeah. Any question or comment related to this verse? And the reason I was saying that this is very important verse in a sense to understand it through the commentaries of the Mahatmas, like, like Tejamyanand ji, Chinmyanand ji, because I've actually heard people say, oh, शास्त्रों में लिखा है कि आत्मा तो अंगूठे की तरह हमारे अंदर है. I've heard people say that. And then they're looking for that scientific evidence, trying to instrument से उसको पकड़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. All kinds of crazy things I've seen. He's already said, hey, this is just, don't start thinking that Atma can be, in anguthe ki tarah. Because how can you cut space? If you can understand that, then you cannot make the Atma in anguthe ki shape. But I thought that eye of the needle was the best example ever. That wo bhi ek space hai, and the same space, the whole cosmos is there. Okay, so what we can do, we can close here and then we can have another discussion if anybody has anything. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashchit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.